All right, I'd like to call to order Town Council public hearings and regular meeting, November 21st, 2024, Cape Charles Civic Center. If I could get a roll call, please.
Buckles present.
Holloway present.
That's a first.
They're really loud tonight.
Una present.
Grossman present.
Ashworth, present.
Let it be known we've established a quorum. If we could all please rise for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Oh, no visitors' presentations, except for one that we'll do, and as you can see up here, I don't know if we're doing it formally or not, but Tara has been sworn in, and we did get approval from the courts that she is now sitting on council.
She's legit.
She is legit.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yes. Good to have you.
Thank you.
And if I could get a motion to approve the agenda format of the minutes and approval of September 30th.
No, I'd like to hold that up.
Okay.
I'll approve, make a recommendation to approve the agenda format.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
With regards to the meeting minutes, I'd make a recommendation that we approve the meeting minutes in the whole series of them, but that we pull out a portion of the October 21st meeting minutes that appended the town council portion with the planning commission notes. It was draft meeting minutes, and there's errors and omissions in it. And right now, we can just truncate it right after town council and just
Parted.
eliminate it. So that's the recommendation I would make.
Is that a motion?
Motion, yes.
Second.
Any discussion on changing the minutes?
I noticed that as well, and thanks for bringing that to everyone's attention.
Anything else?
No, as far as the financial reports, we
Let's
did
vote on
get,
that one real quick, right?
on the financial report?
No.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
So all in favor of changing the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, that motion carries.
And then just the financial report, just the acknowledgement that we got an updated one here, and I'll make a motion that we accept the September 30th financial report.
Second.
Any discussion on the financials? All
I
in
like the
favor?
new colors. That's important, right? It differentiates a little bit better. I like it.
And their fall colors.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the financial report has passed. We have no unfinished business.
Hold it. Do we have public comments?
You missed this,
Oh.
these good public comments.
I am so sorry. I sure did.
I don't mind missing it, but I think it's on the
It's already
agenda.
at the top of my screen. So I'm sorry. We'll switch it back around and go to 4 for public comments. Do we have anyone signed up this evening?
Yes. First one is Donna Nicola.
Sorry, Paul, one more time.
Yeah, really, it's, I'm memorizing it.
Beat it down. Okay, well, first of all, I want to welcome Tara, and I want to congratulate Andy, and thank Steve for his many, many years. More power to y'all, I say it. This is a huge commitment, and I completely respect the commitment that y'all make to the town. So as you know, my name is Donna Nicola. I live at 711 Tazewell Avenue. Since May of 2010, my home has operated with a conditional use permit as Fig Street Inn. I would like to start off by reiterating that I am not against short-term rentals. Their business model is different than mine. Their guest is different than mine. We are not in competition. Short-term rentals are businesses that have a huge economic impact on our community, with the majority located in residential districts. This council has made it very clear that residential districts are not for the proliferation of commercial entities. Allowing short-term rental as a by right use is the epitome of converting residential districts to commercial. A conditional use permit process for STRs in residential districts allows the town to look at each property on a case-by-case basis to determine occupancy, parking, demand on water and sewer, signage, and other sensible regulations such as proof of commercial insurance. I recognize that this is a significant undertaking for town staff and resources, but our number one priority is what is best for our town and not what is simplest or fastest to execute. I ask the town council to support our comprehensive plan and continue with its commitment to residential districts for residential purposes and not allow by right for short-term rental businesses. Implementation of a conditional use permit process for STRs is supported by previous council discussions, decisions, and precedents. I thank you for your time on this matter.
Thank you.
Ed Wells.
Changes timers. Like this.
My name's Ed Wells. I live at 202 Strawberry Street. Good evening, council members, town manager, mayor. The first two goals of our strategic plan, number one, is to retain our small town character. Number two, maintain authentic character of the historic district. This by right ordinance is not the right ordinance for this town at this time, not in the historic district or the Harvard district. We literally have hundreds of STRs at this time. How many more do you want? The committee working on the STRs issue never really pursued the density issue fully. Some of the agreed upon issues are reasonable and acceptable. However, with the proposed by right ordinance, it gives unlimited access to our historic district. What happened to such things as balanced and controlled management, our small town character, and our quality of life? I do not want to depend on the market to control our town. I would rather have some control over our district. This ordinance does not serve the best interest of our town. Thank you.
Sam Jones.
Good evening, and I'll add my congratulations to re-election, election. Send Becky, he'll be up there soon. So appreciate all the effort you're going to have to put in going forward. So, Mr. Mayor and Town Council members and Town Manager, my name is Sam Jones, and my wife Julie and I live at 538 Monroe Avenue. I write to follow up on my comments at the recent joint public hearings on prospective short-term rental and zoning regulations. As stated previously, I served as the Cape Charles Historic District Civic League representative on the Town Managers Committee on STR regulations. While the committee considered requiring a conditional use permit for any new STR applications, we rejected that approach in lieu of recommending that the town place a limit on the total number of STRs in town. So one or the other in terms of approach. The intent of a limit was to address the sense that certain streets or blocks within streets were being overwhelmed by properties transitioning to STRs and negatively impacting the overall sense of community and small town feel of the town. The Town Council subsequently rejected the committee's recommendation to limit the overall number of STRs in town. As a result, while a number of regulations are proposed to guide the operation of STRs, there's nothing in the current proposal that allows your citizens to have input into whether an STR is appropriate for a given block or street. During your discussions, at least two of your members expressed concern about the density of STRs within blocks going forward. I would say that allowing the operation of an STR as a by right business within a residential district will make it much more difficult for future town councils to address the density issue. Therefore, to allow for transparency, citizen awareness, and citizen input, I recommend that the Town Council require a conditional use permit for any new STR application. I underline new, not knowing you'd have to grandfather things in. People will argue that CUPs take too much time and work. I would argue that the decision to allow a business in a residential area that is likely to generate tens of thousands of dollars in revenue deserves a thoughtful review rather than just paying for a license, filling out the paperwork, and in getting an inspection. The issue of SDRs has been floating through council agendas since at least 2019. So clearly, there is time to adjust the current proposal. Thank you for your consideration of this request.
Walter Bronson?
Good evening, everybody, and congratulations to everybody. I thank you all for your work. I know this is a thankless job, as you all soon to find out. I have to second everything that has been said here tonight so far. I think that making this a by right going forward is a mistake. You need to maintain some degree of control over what does happen going forward. We have allowed hundreds of businesses to operate within the town, especially within the historic district, which is my special concern, illegally in my opinion. And if you want to grandfather them in going forward, I think that's fine. I'm not really in favor of it, but we should do that. But to put a cap, or not a cap, but to make those new applications that want to come in, not just by right, but make them get a permit. Take into consideration properties that don't have parking, properties where there's 6 or 8 or 10 houses already on a block that are short-term rentals. You've heard ad nauseum the impacts that short-term rentals have on the community, and not just on the things that the proposed ordinances deal with, like especially limiting to 10. It's a nice number. It will help, but I don't think it's going to end everything here. I think to keep your options open going forward, you should have the conditional use variance apply to all new applications. Thank you very much.
Elise McMahon?
Good evening, everyone. Elise McMath, 304 Tazewell. Thanks for the opportunity. Congratulations, Tara. I already expressed my own reasons for supporting conditional use over by right use Monday night, so instead I'd like to focus on 2 important points. 1 is community engagement, and 2 is the framing of the 10-person occupancy limit as a compromise. First, it's clear that the town's efforts to engage the community on this issue could be more robust. After the initial town hall, where the consensus was that capping the number of STRs wasn't a preferred option for regulating STRs, there hasn't been much opportunity for further input or education on the proposed regulations here tonight. Many residents are still uninformed about the decisions being made, and we're facing a rush to adopt an ordinance that treats STRs as a by right use. Meaningful community engagement goes beyond one town hall or an email newsletter. It's about actively reaching out, educating residents, and creating multiple opportunities to provide feedback. As a small town, we have a unique opportunity to foster this type of dialogue. It's disappointing that more efforts haven't been made to ensure that all voices are heard before moving forward with these regulations. Second, the 10-person occupancy limit has been framed as a compromise, but it doesn't feel like a true compromise. A real compromise brings together input and concessions from both sides. This regulation, however, doesn't fully address concerns of residents in the historic district, like the Bronsons and the Joneses, who live on blocks with particularly high STR density, and they face parking challenges that are particularly unpredictable during peak seasons. It also doesn't fully consider the feedback from STR owners who raised concerns about the one-size-fits-all nature of these regulations being in the zoning ordinance at various planning commission meetings. A conditional use process would allow for more flexibility to address these issues on a case-by-case basis, which could better balance the needs for everyone in the community. If council believes a 10-person occupancy limit is the right solution, I encourage you to validate that using the community survey. I know Councilman Grossman raised concerns about including STR-related questions in this year's survey because it could risk opening the can of worms, but those conversations are necessary for finding solutions that work for everyone and for bridging the divides that seemingly are continuing to grow in the community. Cape Charles deserves thoughtful leadership that's willing to do the hard work needed to meet the needs of residents on all sides of this issue. I urge you all to please pause, hold additional town halls, and work toward a solution that considers the needs of all the parties involved. Thank you.
Evan Ripley? Pass. Okay. Christy Iverson? Pass. Okay. That's everybody who signed up, but I do have a few to read into the record. This first one is from Bonnie Moore, from 206 Madison. It says, I was able to see the new changes, thus, okay, never mind. Hello, and thank you for your diligent work on STRs. Please consider modifying the language so that a house of any number of bedrooms could be eligible for a conditional use permit. The way it's currently written is for 5+ bedrooms, leaving those with fewer bedrooms no options to explain their unique house and parking and have the possibility of a CUP. It doesn't mean you'd have to approve every request, but would at least allow people to make the request. An idea I've heard come up of an occupancy of 2 per bedroom plus an additional 2 was great, and I hope you consider including it. The building code will calculate a maximum occupancy, so there should not be concerns of maxing out a property with adults plus a gaggle of children. The 2 per bedroom plus 2 would prevent a lot of special requests from being made and overwhelming the town. Thank you for the modification to exclude children under 12 from the occupancy count. This will allow me to more easily follow the regulations. Thank you. Next one is from Patricia Cobb at 217 Jefferson. As a full-time Cape Charles resident for 7 years and homeowner for 30 years, I have seen many changes. The short-term rentals and tourism have fueled our economy and brought wonderful businesses. That is the positive. I do feel like there needs to be more oversight regarding the short-term rentals for all the reasons that have been discussed. The conditional use options should be considered. Have a happy medium. Maybe a happy medium could be achieved. Jason Mann at 1 Lakeview Court. Hello, I am writing to express my and my family's opinion on STRs. We are full-time residents and pro short-term rentals. We believe the current standards are sufficient and see no need for change. We would not have made the move to live full-time in Cape Charles if it wasn't for the growth that the revenue from STRs has created. Common sense, enforceable rules should always be considered for everyone who is staying in town, whether full-time or visiting. We love our visitors. From Karen and Rick Lowe at 101 Tazewell. 1, could the council make it clear to everyone the intent of item 4.12C on the number of lodgers per bedroom? Could there be 3 or more lodgers over the age of 12 in a bedroom of sufficient square footage to meet state building codes? 2, could the council make it clear to all the intent of item 4.12C as to maximum number of lodgers per house? Is it a total of 10 over age 12 or 10 individuals of any age? 3, under the section on violations, the proposed change in the new section 4.12E, violations, item 1F, as shown, other non-STR applicable town zoning violations. Does the council really mean that if a resident was charged with a violation concerning a historic district violation, such as making a repair on a residence that did not require a building permit, but did require historic district committee approval, the property owner would have trouble resolving this in 24 hours and could be denied or possibly have it revoked? Why are all zoning violations involved in the STR permit? These questions, thank you for your consideration. Last one from Raphael Allen at 504 Plum Street. I am writing to express my concerns about the proposed regulation limiting short-term rental occupancy to 2 persons per bedroom. While I understand the importance of maintaining order and safety in our community, I believe this proposal will have unintended consequences that could severely impact our local economy, residents, and homeowners. Our town thrives as a family-oriented vacation destination, with the vast majority of visitors being families seeking to enjoy our unique environment. A strict 2-person per bedroom limit would be overly restrictive and out of touch with the very nature of our vacation market, where multi-generational families and multifamilies often travel together. This policy would drastically reduce the availability, affordability, and attractiveness of short-term rental properties in Cape Charles, as many families would find it impractical or impossible to rent in compliance with such a rule. At the last Planning Commission meeting that I attended, it appeared that a few commissioners were open to adjusting the occupancy limit to something more reasonable. Research has shown that other municipalities enforce a 2-person per bedroom limit with a 2-person flex. This would be far more in tune with the nature of our vacation market. By example, a 3-bedroom home like mine would then allow for a total occupancy of 8 versus 6. 8 occupants in a 3-bedroom home is very comfortable and extremely common. Additionally, while I appreciate the Commission's change on the age restriction from 5 to 12, I still believe this to be overly limiting and nearly impossible to enforce. I truly believe that this will significantly impact our marketability, considering the family-friendly nature of Cape Charles. I do not believe I need to belabor all the significant impacts these restrictive policies will have on our local economy. I truly hope you take to heart the above suggestions, as they are very reasonable and far easier to enforce.
All right. Now going on to number 6 of unfinished business, we have none. And to number 7A, short-term rental regulation.
I'll let Katie brief her staff report first.
Good evening, Board. As you're aware, we held a joint public hearing on this matter on October 21st, 2024, on the entire proposed ordinance. We gave a staff presentation. We received significant community input at that meeting, and we have provided you a synopsis of each of those comments provided through that public hearing. I will tell you, I don't want to be remiss in making this brought out. In part of our staff report at that public hearing, we did do the analysis as it relates to the comprehensive plan, and I still refer you back to that in any deliberation you do this evening as well. With that said, we did close the public hearing at 7:02, and Town Council.
Hey, Libby.
You've got some real feedback going on.
We've got some up here too. I don't know. They're really loud tonight.
They actually work, and somebody turned them all the way up.
Yeah. Better?
Better.
Okay.
People can hear us.
Yeah.
And so the Planning Commission continued their deliberation that evening, but did not conclude it that night. We actually commenced again our discussions on October 31st to conclude our recommendation for the Planning Commission. With that said, after that meeting, here is their motion that they made to recommend zoning text amendment 2024-01 as presented with discussion for potential amendments to each section, and was seconded by Commissioner Holloway. The following changes were offered and accepted following discussion by the Planning Commission as part of their recommendation. So again, I have provided you a bulleted list of 4 items that were proposed for amendment, and it's relative to, under the zoning district regulations, change the wording short-term rental in accordance with section, our reference was 4.15, we're proposing to fix that to 4.12. In the new section 4.12B, permitting requirements, item F, remove the phrase, which will be publicly available, so that the section now would read, contact information for a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week contact who is the responsible party to address immediate concerns associated with a short-term rental and who has the authority to act as the owner's and operator's agent. The next proposed change is in section 4.12C, additional requirements, item 5. And again, they are proposing that under occupancy, excluding children, change the limit of 5 to 12 years of age or younger. There shall be no more than 2 lodgers per bedroom, with a max number of overnight lodgers per dwelling being no greater than 10. And finally, in section 4.12E, violations, item 1F, add, as indicated under other, add non-STR applicable town zoning violations. And this motion was passed by the Planning Commission with the proposed amendments. Since the meeting, I've had a chance to have further conversation with our building official to look at the proposed changes and with the town manager, and felt we might have some potential conflict in this proposed ordinance moving forward as it relates to our responsibilities under the building code. in the establishment of setting occupancy for each property. Because we do have under our zoning ordinance a definition of bedroom, and I have included that so that everybody is aware of what that requirement spells out under our zoning ordinance now. So we do want to have further conversation with you this evening about that particular item of all of the proposed Planning Commission recommendations to you this evening. So I will stop at this moment. I'm happy to go further, but I do know I've been in conversation with the town manager, and he might have some further comments to add.
So, as Katie just mentioned, after the Planning Commission changed the age from 5 to 12, that triggered a different evaluation. Very young children often aren't counted against the building code, but once you start getting up to age of 12 or in that range where an individual requires their own bed, it does impact the building code. And that's when we realized that we had no reference in this ordinance to the building code, which is something that's fairly standard in other ordinances. So, not to change the parameters as suggested by the Planning Commission, but if that's something that you chose to do, we would request that additional language be inserted in section C, additional requirements, C5, when it refers to occupancy. The first statement says, excluding children of 12, as the Planning Commission recommended, years of age or younger, there shall be no more than 2 lodgers per bedroom, with the maximum number of overnight lodgers per dwelling being no greater than 10. However, we need to add, semicolon, unless otherwise reduced by the requirements of the building code. In other words, we don't want to create a situation where we may have, since there's no limit on children of that age, you could essentially potentially exceed the building code. So we wanted to make it clear that the building code occupancy requirements are still in play, that this does not supplant them. So essentially, the occupancy, whatever it is you decided to make it, would be the lesser of what the building code requires or the STR ordinance requires. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
it's just a clarifying point here to make sure people don't think that they can bypass the building code.
And when I saw the staff report, I met with Jeb and Katie this afternoon and have generated changes to occupancy. So when we get through there, it folds into some of what you said, and you can either agree or modify what I have. So as we march through, I'll pass out a marked up section for occupancy.
You typed it?
No. I printed it. I don't think I know how to write anymore.
So I just want to point out that one clarification that's new information, just since the Planning Commission met. Beyond that, it's a policy call. That's the point of tonight's discussion. So my recommendation would be for us to just start at the beginning, to start with the first section of the proposed ordinance and ask if there's any.
Well, what I'd like to do is make a motion to put this whole thing on
Absolutely.
record, and then we can march through. So, Mr. Mayor.
If there are no questions for me, I'm going to sit down.
Hold on one second. Before we go further, Ken and myself need to make a comment.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Go right ahead.
I just want to make sure that everyone knows that I do own an STR, but I believe that I am able to act in the best interest of the town and not in my personal business.
And I too take care of 4 short-term rentals in town, and also feel that I will do in the best interest of the town. Thank you.
Thank you for that disclosure.
You're welcome.
So yes, we need a motion to continue.
So I'll make a motion that we adopt the zoning ordinance as shown in our staff report that did fold in the Planning Commission recommendations.
Second.
Now with the motion and a second, we can discuss it. And again, my recommendation would be we just start at the top, one section at a time, So, Mr. Mayor, if you want to just kind of lead through, ask if there's any questions on a particular section. If there's hearing none, we can move to the next section.
All right. So starting off, section 2, get to
So page 1 of the
Article 2.
attachment after the staff
Yep.
report, section 2.9, definitions.
anything there? Zoning Article 3, district regulations.
I would like to bring up something there. And that would be that as we have not developed either a plan or design guidelines for the harbor district, that we may change our view at that point, and so maybe leave this out from the harbor district. And after we've developed our plan for how we believe the harbor district should be developed, come up with a decision as to whether in the harbor district this should be by conditional use permit or by right.
John, you got two STRs.
Oh, so yes, we already have them in there. So if you
Okay.
exclude them, they would not be authorized.
Okay, so we can't do that.
Okay. So no motion there.
And they're puzzled, one is above the yacht center and one is above the restaurant.
Yeah, forgot about that one.
Thank you.
I knew there was one too.
Yeah, I think there's one more too. All right, so going on to zoning, Article 4, general regulations and applicable to all districts. Is that where we just?
Yes, section 4.2.
4.2J.
Yep. Nothing there.
Essentially cleaning up language here.
Okay. And then amend by adding A, the length of stay, 4.5, off-street parking and loading standards.
That was also a cleanup of language.
Okay.
Because these already exist in this form, it's just changing wording, is that correct?
Yeah, in this particular case, the other temporary residents renting by day, you know, we do it by district now.
They're already,
Right.
yes.
All right, and then add new section 4.12, short-term rental regulations, purpose and intent.
All right, so this is the meat and potatoes.
Yes, sir.
This is where it's all at, yeah.
Councilman Grossman, why don't you start?
Nothing on purpose and intent.
Okay, number 2, regulations for short-term rentals. Number 2. Anything? Number
Purpose and
3.
intent is A, which, are you moving on to B, which, or are you?
No,
No.
I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, if there's anything.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay. I mean, do we want to go through that detail?
No,
Yeah.
you can go purpose and
Okay.
intent, 1
That's
through
fine.
4. Right.
A, and then we'll go to B, permitting requirements.
Right, and this is where we remove the contact information through planning, and it's in our motion right now.
Correct.
Because of Council Grossman's motion, it automatically accepts all the red comments that you see.
Right.
Okay. So anything in B? Moving on. C, additional requirements.
Okay, so C, when we get to occupancy, this is where I wanted to suggest wording to address what we just, if you can pass this to Libby, please.
Where it's the lesser of the two.
You can get some down to Katie and Jeb.
Oh.
All right, so in this particular case, we've been going around and around on occupancy, and trying to meld it into code official. What I have proposed here, and I'll read it, I'm striking out the excluding age and starting with, there shall be no more than 2 lodgers per bedroom plus 2. That deals with our bunk bed type arrangements, with a maximum of overnight lodgers per dwelling no greater than 10. And then adding, occupancy shall not exceed any limit set by the Uniform Building Code or local building official. That, I think, addressed what John was saying.
That works for me.
Now, for the second piece, when we were talking about conditional use permit, I changed that to say occupancy greater than the above per STR may be approved through a conditional use permit provided, and strike out the 5-bedroom business, and provided that the property can accommodate sufficient off-street parking, the property meets any other safety requirements that may be reasonably required for such higher occupancy, and the property does not exceed Uniform Building Code or local building official limitations.
Okay, so for examples for the 2 things, a 3-bedroom home, you're saying that 2 lodgers per bedroom plus 2, so the maximum in a 3-bedroom home would be 8
Correct.
of any age.
Correct. Those that Jeb will.
Above 2?
Right, above.
So the building code doesn't really address age. And my big concern with a 12-year-old is, you know, they're, you know, if you didn't limit the amount of 12-year-olds, you know, you got a 3rd floor attic, they've converted into living space, they're going to pack as many beds up there as they can and put as many children up there as they can. We get a fire, it's a major problem. And I have major concerns that we want to keep our name out of the news. So when he got talking about age limits, I didn't really feel comfortable with any age limits. You know, I think we go more towards a set number of people per bedroom plus an extra, because I do see a lot of rentals with 2 sets of bunk beds in them. So you could essentially, if the room met the square footage of the 70 square feet, 50 for each additional, if it met that, you could easily sleep 4 there, and I see a lot of that. See a lot of situations where those rooms can accommodate for children or young adults comfortably.
So the case that we looked at, he had just come through as a home that had a 2nd floor and had 6 bedrooms, only because it was
Six beds.
6 beds. I
And
mean,
six twin
wide
beds
open.
in one big wide open room. And
So-
it met the limitations of the square footage to be able to allow 6.
So in that particular case, his occupancy per code official is 14.
In a 5-bedroom home.
Short-term rental here would limit it to 10, and the second paragraph would allow a conditional use permit to come in and explain what they really would like between 10 and the 14 in this particular example.
But that would apply to any number of bedrooms as long as they were proper size. So a 3-bedroom person, a 3-bedroom home could come in for a conditional use permit if they thought they could
That's correct.
sleep
Exactly.
more than.
Correct.
Correct.
With this
That's right.
change
That's
of
right.
wording.
That's right.
But only up to a total of 10.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, a conditional use permit
Not
doesn't.
conditional
no.
use, they could come in for any number.
They can come in if they justify up to his limit.
But they have to go through CUP.
We should look at parking
Only
and a
one
whole
to
bunch of that
10.
stuff.
Jeb, when you issue a permit for construction, are you asking if they're, say they're doing an attic, are you asking if they're converting it into a bedroom or just open space?
So as far as new construction goes,
No, for if someone's doing permitted construction in an existing home.
so if they're converting an attic to living space, do I ask them what they're using it for? I do, because if they're making it a game room, there's no requirements for emergency egress. There's no requirements for a certain size window opening. If it's a bedroom, they have to have a 5.7 net square feet opening capable of emergency escape if needed. So yes, absolutely, I am asking that question.
And then that, whatever that, if they're converting it into a bedroom, you would then give them the calculation for how many beds they can put into the space?
We would do that moving forward. We've never done that in the past because we really haven't had these regulations before.
So under that situation, someone could have converted an attic, say 2 years ago, and is using it in an STR to have beds up there, but now they would be disadvantaged by us changing this number.
Only if they have an
Unless they
egress
were already
window in
10.
there.
If they have an egress window, if it was said that it was okay, that it could be a bedroom, but he wasn't telling them how many.
Yeah, that would be hard for me to answer that question without actually going up there and measuring the bedrooms and seeing what the occupancy I gave them last year versus what the occupancy would be based on the new regulations.
And it still has to have the ceiling height, all the things that are.
Oh, yeah, oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
that's important.
that's addressed at plan review before they
Right.
even get their permit.
Right.
Yeah,
And when you get your STR permit, you get an occupancy limit on there.
correct.
So
Yes, but what we're saying now is that we're going to use building code occupancy limit as the limitation.
Over
Really
10.
would do that
No,
anyway.
10 is gonna still be the limit. So if they can have more than 10, like in his case, what he's saying it was 14 or whatever it
14.
was, they'd have to come in and get a conditional use permit for the other.
Right.
Okay.
And they have to meet the other criteria for that to happen.
Correct. Parking, everything else that goes with it.
Good.
Thank you.
So I'll make a motion that, amended a motion, that this occupancy paragraph be included in our ordinance.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the amended motion? We're not taking any discussion, sorry.
Sorry, there is discussion
Within
town
us.
council.
Yes, yes, it
So
does, yes.
my question to the town council is, I believe that there are always market repercussions from a decision. My concern is that now we've created a situation where houses in town are going to be limited in the number, houses currently existing in town are going to be limited in the number of occupants. So new builds might be more prone to making a mega mansion that has 8 bedrooms or 9 bedrooms, which then has a deterrent toward our small town charm, because they're trying to circumnavigate this, and they've seen sort of a market opportunity because current houses can't meet these numbers.
We got a
It's-
cap on size.
Yeah, that's,
Sure, a cap on size, but they're gonna
And
make them all
limited.
bedrooms.
well, it doesn't matter, it still can.
Yeah, but you-
They could have a 20-bedroom
wouldn't
house.
No,
It
and
wouldn't
they'd have
help.
to get a conditional use permit.
But it wouldn't
Correct,
help.
but it would have to be approved.
Right, so it would be approved, but now we're sort of
It-
creating
it
a
wouldn't-
market.
It wouldn't be necessarily be approved, just out of the gate.
Of course, it wouldn't necessarily be approved, I
Right.
realize this, but I'm just wondering if this is creating an opening for a market of a new home that is headed toward, Outer Banks style homes.
Where's the
Obviously,
woman
our
from
lots are very different in size, but I'm thinking for every action, there's a reaction, and I think that creates this.
The building envelope's limited. So, and then you've got the room sizes, 70 square feet plus 50 per every other one.
Understood.
Those are big rooms. So you
Understood.
can only build a 4,600 square foot house.
And different very much in the historic district and in Bay Creek. Some of the things that you're discussing, possibility in Bay Creek, certainly are very, very feasible to happen as far as space. But I feel like the CUP factor in this will be the process that decides that, because is there a reason to limit that if it can accommodate all of those factors, parking and the other issues that we've talked about, and neighbor involvement? It's not a free-for-all. There are the parameters that we're putting in place, which, I mean, personally, I've hesitated to say it like this, but it's fact, and that is, I brought this up in 2017 for us to have conditional use permits for short-term rentals, because I saw where the market was going from a B&B hat. I knew where this direction was going. I spoke with the mayor and council at that time. I wasn't on council. And I have brought that up at every suggestion that it possibly could happen, and nobody wanted that, including some of the people who who are out there in the audience, that initially they were like, oh, no, that's not going to work. We want to limit them and we want to do this. Or those of us up here we don't want to have to go through that process. So it's very hard for me. I'm not backing down on my views as far as, because we agreed as a council that we weren't going to limit STRs, we were going to come up with guidelines. So I'm still in support of that. But it was very hard for me not to say tonight that I really do feel strongly about we could have managed this differently. And I'm not a big look back person, but we could have managed this differently with the CUP. So I'm very happy, Paul, because I feel like this brings in that factor. It still brings in all the things we've worked hard on, all the people that have worked hard on this, including all of our residents' input. We can't forget that we have some of those things in here, but we do need to get it right. And I think it's important to remember tonight, we are not in stone. We are not putting something in, Fred Flintstone kind of like this is where it will be for the forever of time. We're putting something in place that we're going to be able to adjust and evaluate.
We've done that with the ADUs.
Yes.
Right? There was CUP. And
Yes.
then after 2-3 years we made it by right.
Yeah.
Just by learning experience.
Right.
I think taking the children number out of this, we are moving away from being a family destination. And I realize that creates issues with how to manage it, but taking that out makes us not be a family destination anymore.
Well, I don't think you have a choice if we're going to be using code officials and uniform billing.
We're going to be limited, yeah.
Right.
Also, if I could just add one thing, I'm sure the council knows this, but for everyone else, this ordinance applies to only the zoning districts noted in the ordinance, which does not include the Accomack Bud, Bay Creek. Okay, so these ordinances this does not affect Bay Creek. Okay, we will deal with Bay Creek, but separately. Their PUD, their planning and development ordinance, is scheduled to come through next year for an update, and we will try to address it then. But I just want to make sure it's clear to everybody that approving this tonight does not impact Bay Creek.
Okay, thank you.
Before we go on more discussion, we have a motion on the table right now to amend the motion to add this language to number 5. And is there any other discussion on adding this language to the aforementioned motion?
It's also removing language.
And removing language, correct?
With the edits that are proposed, probably is the best way to say
Right.
that.
As proposed.
As written
in the
here.
document, right.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I second it.
Yeah,
Okay. No one had seconded.
It's right for a vote.
So do we have any other discussion on that? If not, all in favor of changing number 5?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
And then we have 5 approved, 1 opposed. And back to the first motion that was on the table.
No, we got to continue going
The
through.
first one you
Yep.
made for,
We're not done yet.
We're not
no,
going through.
okay. I thought that was just on this section. Then we amended the section. All right, we're moving
Now
on.
take it to the
Changing
next
5, now we
section.
gotta go to 6.
All right.
Where are we?
Well, it could be anywhere from 6 to 11.
6
Any
to 11,
comments?
anything else on that?
I'm sorry, I gotta get my. Are we?
We're
what-
still on additional requirements.
Okay.
C.
Paragraph C.
C.
Yes.
5,
And we're going down to 11.
6. Okay. Okay, gotcha. I'm good.
Good with all that?
Yeah.
To D for the inspections. There are really no changes here other than in E. We're doing other applicable non-STR was added.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I have something here.
I do too.
There's a mistake on here, and I am embarrassed and apologize that it's gotten this far. And we just caught it this afternoon, thanks to the sharp eye of a new person looking at this. So thank you, Tara, for coming in and putting fresh eyes on this. This list of violations, when we talked about this, some of them are more important or are a worse violation than others, say. So the way we differentiated that was the less stringent violations, you allowed more than one, right? So it took two to hit the threshold of a violation, and that's how you differentiated it. Originally, my committee recommended that you get three shots at it before it became a violation. You told it to knock it down to 2. But the wording here doesn't do that. If you say 2 or more, 2 triggers it. It's just
True.
1.
Yeah.
So we need to change I request someone to make a motion to change.
Oh, what item are you pointing to?
For H and I.
All right.
For H and I, where it says 2 or more, it needs to say more than 2. Otherwise, it's just 1, like all the rest of them, right? Also,
I'm not reading it that way. It says 2 or more, it's 2.
Once you get to 2, it's a violation.
Yeah, it seems to me it would say just 2 violations.
Right, yeah,
So-
why
so-
not just 2?
if you get your second one,
That
Yeah, if you
triggers
get your
this.
second, it triggers it. We don't want them to get to 3,
yes,
right?
okay.
It's like,
I mean, I have a problem with I, because if they're putting it out there with violations of occupancy, and you're gonna ding the owner, and they have a contract that specifically says 10, and people are just gonna push it, they do it all the time. So I find I don't think that should be there.
I don't understand your,
Because 2 or more violations of occupancy limits, and if they're writing contracts for 10 people, and these people come in here and decide to bring 12. you
right, but
know?
they need to manage that as
Right,
the,
it's-
as
it's-
the
But I'm
owner.
saying,
It's-
if there's a contract,
It says that it's not cured following reasonable notice.
Yes.
So if that happens, we contact them.
And they have to fix it.
And we say, "Okay, your limit for this one is 8, whatever it is. And they got 12 in there, we contact them.
Yeah.
They got 24 hours to get it down to 8. If they don't, then they fail. That's not their client, that's
Right.
them for not managing their
Yeah.
STR correctly.
Right, and then that will incentivize them to, in their listings, to make sure it's very clear and what those things, how those things are
you just
managed.
boot it out.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Like what will happen. I've just recently been looking for a vacation spot, and I've gone through a lot of short-term rentals, and it's amazing how the language can really be used as an example of how to get the message across. There's really some really good methods out there, and I think that would be something we can help people with when we get to that point. It's very, very clear. Maybe I'm just sensitive and I read it more thoroughly than others, but, yeah. Now, I had concern over F, other applicable non-STR town zoning violations.
Can we finish the discussion?
Oh, yeah,
on
sorry.
HI, if we're gonna change that language or not?
To
Should
2.
it just be two violations?
So the way it reads now, you can do it once, no harm, no
Right.
foul. Okay, you do it a second time, it triggers, because you don't want it to go to 3, is what you're saying, okay? I guess, Earl,
I think it should just say 2.
Yeah,
I do.
just,
Not
we all
two
think
or
just
more.
2.
yeah, I think that's what's confusing.
Yeah.
All right,
So
so
say
I'll make
two-
an amended motion that we remove or more from H and I.
Second.
Any other discussion on that?
On that
On those
area,
two,
The
H and I.
amendment.
on the amendment, no.
All in favor of removing or more in H and I? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. H and I, strike or move, or more.
Then the other comment I wanted to propose is on G. Similar to H and I, where you allow someone to get to have a second chance at it. The design intent between G, failure to provide responsive actions to issues raised to 24/7 contact as determined through town investigations, Could be something as simple as, you know, a noise complaint or something like that. You know, a noise complaint, the police are gonna come and issue a ticket to the person actually making the noise. But if you call the hotline, you know, and complain to the contact and they don't resolve it.
But there won't be a hotline.
Well, there will be, the
Yeah.
town has access
Right.
to it.
Yes, yes.
So-
And that's why it says free town investigations. So this is not, this couldn't be somebody complaining who wants to be a troublemaker. It has to be the town validating that it's an issue. And because it just says to issues raised, issues being a very broad term, I don't know if you wanted to be any more lenient with that and say two there as well. In other words, it would take two of them, two actions of not being resolved in order to raise to a violation, or do you want to just leave it at one? I'm just bringing it up for discussion.
Do we want to also, before we even get to the number, founded issues? So it's not just someone raised an issue, but it's not, there was nothing there.
Yeah, because raised just could be,
Could be raised.
Well, yeah, but that's the purpose of as determined through town investigations. If it was nothing there, it would not be determined to be an issue.
Okay.
That's why that's there. So just for your consideration, if you wanted to raise it to two, just throw that out. If not, if you're comfortable with it the way it is, that's fine as well.
Well, I'll put an amended motion on the table to raise E1G to 2 failures.
Other than occupancy limit.
Is there a second?
Yes, second.
Sorry.
Now I can-
Discussion.
What would be examples of issues that would fall under that category? We've already got occupancy limits as I.
noise.
Noise, they're not taking their trash can in, someone's parking on the lawn. I don't know. It could be
Things
any
like that.
number of
Okay.
things.
They don't have the 2 trash cans and they have a facility, you know,
Yeah.
a
12
place
people.
with
Right,
whatever.
exactly. They could be minor things. That's
Yeah.
why I'm thinking maybe 2 is appropriate.
Well, I mean, it could be also things like not paying their property tax and
Yeah,
time,
well,
right, too?
That comes up above. You only
Yeah,
one-shot
I know,
those.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it also says to provide responsive action, so I mean, it could happen over and over as long as it's responded
It's
to.
a responsive
It's not
action.
gonna be-
Yeah.
right. Correct?
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah.
If they deal with it right away, then that doesn't count.
Right,
Right.
okay, yeah, I mean, I don't, 1 or 2 is fine, I mean,
I don't
personally
think
feel
it
that they should
needs
respond
to.
to it immediately. I mean, I don't know why
I
you
don't
need another
think these
chance
changes
to
either.
respond.
I don't think it needs changing.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, well, there's a motion on the table,
Yep,
so
we
just
gotta
go
vote.
down then.
All right, so all in favor of adding 2 times to G, I'm sorry, E1G? All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Say nay.
Nay.
All right, so that is straight.
Now you have one.
Yes,
You at F.
we're going backwards, yes. So, Mrs. Lowe brought up tonight, and I had already made a note on this, other applicable non-STR town zoning violations. So, because it says applicable, that means that it's related to short-term rental, or if someone, you know, like she referenced, was making a change on a repair at their house and they didn't get permission and they violated that. Is that what we're talking about? What does this mean? I don't think it's real clear.
It could mean anything under the zoning ordinance, so it could be something relative to, say, they installed a fence, or they put a
Right.
shed, and they never got.
That's what I'm asking, is the
Yes,
clarity of
That's
that.
the violation. In other words, you have to follow all town rules, just like you have to pay all town
Okay.
fees and all taxes.
Okay.
So you need
So,
to
yes.
follow the whole zoning ordinance.
But should there also be language in there that they have the opportunity to cure it? Because right now there isn't.
Right.
This is for short-term renters? I'm having trouble, this is in the zoning ordinance already. I mean, the owner can't do that.
Right.
So this
So
is-
why should it matter?
So why does it need to be part of the short-term?
Oh,
rental?
I get it, because,
They lose
It's a
their
violation.
license.
They lose their license.
right, because it's just like property taxes. If we don't pay property
Yeah, there's
taxes.
penalties for not paying your property
So
tax
it's an
too.
additional, it's an additional
yes.
penalty.
It does seem a little bit more onerous on the short-term homeowner that they would have the same set of fines that are on every other resident, but then on top of that, they're gonna lose a license.
That's why I'm saying there needs to be language in here saying that they can also cure the zoning violation.
Yeah,
If I may.
yeah.
Okay?
The process for any violation or investigation of it that we do today and would happen under this ordinance as well is, again, somebody calls us in or we notice it out in the field. And so I'll pick on, all of a sudden a shed appears on the backyard. There's no permit for it, it wasn't approved, etc. So we write them, hey, we see this shed. What happened? How did this get there? One, did you know it? Did you put it there? And if so, then you need to address this with the town. That either may be bring it into compliance, apply for this, or it's in a location or it's a size it's never going to get approved, you need to remove it, then let's apply for what you need. And give them a period of time to cure that issue. And again, that could be get in your application and we give them that period of time. It may be 2 weeks to get your application into us. It doesn't mean it's been approved, but let's get it in, let's get the paperwork going. If they don't respond to that, that's a failure. They didn't respond to the notice and the action required to cure the potential violation. And at that point, then it is a violation, and then we start moving through the next process of potentially the revoking of your STR for the following year.
Correct. But the point I'm making is
Yeah.
here is even if they had a violation and they cured it, this would still be a strike against that short-term rental owner. Because right now it just says,
No.
it does.
Because it's not a violation.
It's not a violation yet.
They cured it. Violation
Okay.
is cured. There is no standing violation anymore.
But
got
if they
you.
have
So
the
they
violation,
did something wrong, but she hasn't issued the violation yet, because she's
Yes.
first gonna try to cure it. She's gonna
Because
first
part of it
look at
is,
that.
we're
But
trying to
if-
verify.
in the scenario you just described,
Yes.
you issue the violation, they must do something with it. What happens if they don't?
That is really the problem that we have seen from time to time, where people just ignore it, saying, I'm not going to worry about this, I'm going to let the town do whatever you're going to do to me. So in the letter, whenever it goes out the door from my office, we say it's a potential notice of violation. And then we describe what the issue is, we cite the code citations, the zoning ordinance that this may be in violation of, and we say, now here's how you got to fix this problem. And then we outline whatever that fix is, and we also put a time frame associated with that.
So
And-
I'm fine with all that, that's
Me
existing.
too.
Yes.
I'm not fine with then heaping an additional penalty on a short-term rental owner to lose his rental license because of something he did that's already covered by a current zoning ordinance.
Right.
I won't say it's heaping, it is keeping it consistent that the zoning ordinance still applies all the time.
Yeah, no, it does now anyway. This
And-
doesn't
and
do anything for me.
And all we're telling people is putting them on notice, if you don't adhere to the zoning ordinance as a whole, you could be jeopardizing this zoning permit you are getting
Yeah,
from the
I
town.
don't think that should be applicable. I'm going to make a motion, we strike that.
Second.
An amendment to the motion.
Amendment to the motion. And we have a second. Is there any other discussion on F, striking it from E1 violation? All in favor of striking F, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Nay.
1 opposed, 5 agree. F has been stricken. All right. Moving on. Anybody else, A, B, C, or D, or E?
It's not any of those, but the, the nuisance noise violations, I know you guys are going to think I'm a broken record because I've brought this up every time. I still am having a really hard time. I realize noise violations goes with the person of which the offending party who's violating, but that's one of our bigger concerns for short-term rentals. And the way this reads to me, there will be no impact on the short-term rental. It's just on the.
I think it's up in G.
Exactly.
I
Yeah,
think
that-
that's where it is.
That's where, it's up in G, right?
So actually, this has double teeth, because the
Yes.
renter
Okay.
gets a ticket, a violation, and then it also connects back to the
Okay.
homeowner.
Any consequence to the zoning permit holder. Got it. Thank you.
So if the police go out, find that people are making too much noise, they'll tell them to quiet down, I assume they're gonna, if the noise continues, they go back out, then it's a violation. And the police would also, after writing the ticket to the party that's making the noise, would then call the homeowner
We haven't worked out those
What the-
procedures
yeah,
yet.
what the procedure will be, but yeah.
That's important to
Yeah.
me, because you can't hold the owner liable for
Yes.
something they don't know about.
Sure.
So if they haven't,
They will be informed, we're working on that process.
Yeah, it's just the process of
And
it.
again, that's why
But
it goes
yes.
back to town investigations.
Yeah.
So the town will validate that, obviously, we're not gonna hold you responsible for something you didn't know about.
Right.
yeah, the processes are gonna come out of this, whatever
Right.
the final document.
Yeah, there's a lot of implementation work that needs to go into once you tell me what you want.
Well, and as we work on that, can we also get reporting of this? So I don't know, because we've asked in the past, can you tell me how many noise violations you've how many noise calls you've gone out on? Or how many, whatever it is you've gone out on that you found were an issue? If there aren't records of that, it's hard for us to know.
You relating just to STRs?
No. No, I mean, if they go out because the noise ordinance applies to everyone.
Correct.
So if there are 30 citations on the noise ordinance, and 20 of them were at STRs, that's important to know.
So the weekly report from
Exactly.
So the weekly report from the police chief, you want to have a breakout, just like we did it for golf carts.
Yeah.
We could break it out for
Right.
STRs, is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
I don't know if
No,
if
just
you need it
for
on
anyone.
noise ordinance,
Oh, just for noise ordinance?
Noise,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, sure.
or light, or,
Okay.
if it's something that someone is going to be getting a penalty for, let's at least track it.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
All right, moving on. Number 2, anything there? Number 3. All right. I think that's,
So before you vote on the main motion, a couple of things. There are, in addition to the zoning ordinance, there were some regular town code changes as well, that dealt with inspections and trash and things that aren't in zoning, okay? Those will be coming in December. So I wanted to know where you were on this. And then we'll be bringing just the regular town code sections in December that will complete this. Now, the price tag.
I have one more thing to discuss also, the thing I sent out this afternoon. Okay. So I sent this out to you guys individually. I brought it up before. I did have it brought up at the planning commissioners meeting. All along, as we've looked at this, one of the things that I thought was important is education and opportunity to kind of bring everybody on the same page, because I think truly we could take care of some low-hanging fruit problems. And one of the areas that I think that could happen is to develop like a learning panel of sorts. So once we get this set, we would have in place where the zoning official, code official, we get somebody to talk about insurance and the importance of insurance, vacation homeowners group to talk about their good neighbor policy. That would include some of the things like I talked about, how your listings can be proactive to discourage bringing 10 cars instead of 3, kind of what kind of parking is related. The treasurer's office to talk about how do you do TOT, what is BPOL, and police for noise concerns. I would like for this to be something that we require. So part of the renewal each year, they check a box that says, I attended or I watched the video of XYZ. Now, I know that some of you think, well, they're just going to check the box, Tammy, and go on. Well, there's a lot of stuff that they can do that with. But if we try the effort to put forth that we're asking them to do this, I think we're doing a lot for our full-time residents in trying to educate kind of moving forward. I don't have any idea where this is included, but I really don't want it to get lost into one of those things that we say, oh, we'll just do that.
Well, it would be under permitting, item 2 on page 4. Item 2 has a listing of what has to be submitted.
Right.
So what you're suggesting is adding
Yes.
an H there.
Yeah.
so we need one more motion
So
to amend the motion.
I agree with Councilman Grossman, that this would be the appropriate place for it. So, but before you make the motion, I guess I just went on the language. Yes, when this was brought up to Planning Commission meeting, I thought it was a great idea. But I guess maybe I misunderstood at the time. I thought that the request was for all this to go into ordinance, and this is way too much detail to go into
Right.
ordinance. And
No.
so my
Well, I had the other Holloway commissioner
yeah,
presenting
so
this,
my
not me.
comment back was, this is something that you just turn to your town manager and say, do it.
Yes.
You know, this is an internal process. I didn't want to, because you don't want to bog down. It's too hard to change anything once it's in here. So in your wording that you're about to do, I'm going to ask that you make it as broad as possible. I mean, you're filling a square, but don't be very specific about what you're asking for. Give us
Right.
the flexibility for that to grow and adapt over time, is all I'm asking.
In the ordinance or outside the
Well,
ordinance?
you can have, you can
In the
have
section you talked about.
You can have an H that just
Right,
says,
right.
you've reviewed this, whatever you
Training.
call it, training information.
Yeah.
You reviewed training information, or
Yeah.
certification.
Certification.
Certification that training material has been reviewed.
Each year.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of the.
Yeah.
Something very broad like that would be good.
Okay, so we would add that into
So that would be under B.
B to H.
Would be a new section.
Section.
And are you making a motion?
I'm making a motion that I have no idea what it's going to say, that we require a certification. Can you say what you said? I'm sorry.
Certification of,
So the town prepares informational packet regarding STRs.
yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
That's broad
Certification
enough.
of town
Not
prepared.
Annual certification.
but not packet, because I think I view this as, it's going to be a video, it's going to be a panel, they can be in person, they can watch
So we just call
online.
training
Training.
information. So it's just
Yes.
certification, annual certification of town prepared training information.
And updates.
So we need a second.
Second.
Any other discussion on 2H being added to the ordinance?
John, do you think this will change your costs that you just sent around to us?
No.
Anything else? All in favor of adding H? Say
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? H will be added.
Okay.
Anything else, though?
So yes, so now, before you approve this, I want you to
Well,
have.
can I throw out another segment before the course? I want to get the conditional use permit back on the table, because that is the concern we've heard from people. We did put it into occupancy for I don't want the discrepancy, but the gap between what we have, the limit, and what the building code is. But we've heard tonight that the request to drive all this stuff through CUP, or if not all, then just new SDRs. And I wanted just to make sure we kind of talk to that. CUPs have been discussed through all our meetings, and we never came to the conclusion that we needed a CUP, although we discussed it. There are other entities that use CUPs, special use permits, and we felt through our committee meetings not to make them available here.
So at this point, what we have here is anybody that's got a current STR that exceeds, for example, the occupancy limits and wants to continue operating at that limit has to apply for a CUP anyway.
Correct.
And tonight was the first time I've heard, and it may have been said other times, but I didn't, that you grandfather in everybody right now.
No matter the occupancy
But
level?
that, you know,
Well, no,
and then you
whatever
have a new,
he's
then
saying,
new
yes.
applicants then have to apply for a CUP, which I'm not opposed to at all, but when you grandfather in, what are we grandfathering in?
Especially if you have to do a license every year. So what are you grandfathering?
They're not
for the reg-
grandfathering in, they have to.
I know,
Yeah.
what
No,
I'm
no,
saying,
yeah.
with the
Yeah.
conditional, if we went the CUP route, no one's grandfathered in because you have to renew your license every year.
No, well, you have to
No,
renew your license.
it's-
Not CUP.
The license aspect is different from a CUP.
Right.
A CUP is a process that will force you through public hearing, planning commission, public hearing, town council, approval, or modification.
Right.
That's a process that a CUP provides, and we didn't feel through our previous meetings that was necessary.
So we're talking about it, the way I hear this, is it's not a by right use. It becomes a conditional use.
So my only input on that is that the only way you could consider a CUP is if you do it for new STRs only. It would be impossible for us to push 330 STRs through the CUP process. It would just be impossible. We couldn't do it.
Oh, go ahead.
But if you wanted to have that, then I would imagine you would then have to amend this ordinance to remove it out of permitted uses, accessory uses for permitted purposes, into the conditional use section with a grandfather clause that would set the parameters for what it would take to grandfather in. My recommendation there is that an STR that has a current town business license and has remitted top tax to the town in the prior 12 months could be grandfathered in. Those are active STRs.
What does that do with all these pieces that we've just talked about?
I'm sorry?
What does that do to everything here that we've just talked about? So you grandfather in, you have your permit.
They still have to follow then these guidelines.
Exactly.
They still have to.
And
All
register.
these guidelines.
Yep.
Now, including the limitations,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
but even if they have a permit now, that allows them to have,
There is no permit now.
Mm-mm.
so then what are we grandfathering?
We're grandfathering in the,
Right there, that's
there
the
need to go
CDC.
through the CUP process. They have to do everything else. So the only people who would have to go through the CUP process would be new STRs, ones that do not exist currently.
And we would start that when? Tonight? As
Whenever
of
this is
tonight?
approved.
As of,
You could set, you could determine that however you
Well,
want.
I'll give you words. All right, so Virginia Beach, we've gone through
just
there.
be prepared for people to blow down the doors tomorrow for permits.
Okay, let's watch the wording before we jump to conclusions, right?
Right, because
You gotta be standing.
number one, we have to look at the cost, and we have to look at when's the implementation date. We never approve anything tonight that's implemented tomorrow.
But you can.
But we just don't. I mean, we need a effectiveness to do that.
It is just talk right now.
Yeah.
All right, so let me just go through Virginia Beach, because they talk to this aspect. They have words in here, any short-term rental that has registered and paid transit occupancy taxes to Commissioner of Revenue prior to, and they have a date, 2018 in this case, shall be considered grandfathered and shall not be required to obtain a conditional use permit. So that language can be used here as long as we insert a particular date.
But then we still want them to comply with what we're talking about
Right.
tonight, the rest of this. But even if they have an existing
Yeah, it wouldn't be a by
STR,
right.
they now have to comply with this.
Correct.
So if they have one in there now renting to 14, now they can only rent to 10 unless they then want to come in for CUP.
Right.
For 99%.
But on that, what date was on there?
No, they implemented
Date's
this
irrelevant.
a couple of years ago, so that's what's in their ordinance, but the language fits if that's what we want to consider for new SDRs coming forward.
So I took delivery of drafting language.
Before you get to that, this is the intention I had for the harbor area, is exactly this, that the two existing would be grandfathered.
Yes.
But nothing else would happen for harbor because there's no
Yes.
development there.
Yeah.
And we would make those decisions
I
at that
did
time.
think of that after we moved on. I was thinking the same thing.
So I too looked at the Virginia Beach ordinance, and from that, crafted language as following. Any short-term rental that possessed a valid town business license and remitted transient occupancy taxes to the town during the 12 months immediately preceding the effective date of this ordinance is considered grandfathered, but must meet the conditions of Article 4, 4.12 of the Town Cape Charles zoning ordinance. So basically, they have to follow all the requirements, and that they have to show that they were an active STR by having an active business license and having actually remitted tot tax. The official has also suggested maybe even adding in a third condition, which would be that they received a rental occupancy, a rental occupancy certificate. So you can make it all three of those. So that they have a business license, a rental occupancy certificate, and they actually remitted tot taxes of some type within the 12-year period. That constitutes
12 months.
12 months.
12 months. Sorry. That constitutes an active STR that could potentially be grandfathered in. And then you would only be having to deal with cups for anything new after that.
All right,
So somebody who has a short-term rental ability right now, but they went out and got that on their permanent residence now, thinking that at some point in the future they may want to short-term rent their property.
They would need
They would not qualify for this grandfathering.
Correct, they're not an STR now.
Because they've not paid
They're not
TOD
paying any TOD.
in 12 months. Mhm.
So on the Virginia Beach, just going back to it though, there are many cases there right now that are in litigation over this for the by right.
And oh yeah, so yeah, that's the other point, is that this is not a slam dunk.
No.
There are, we do risk potential litigation by doing this. No one knows how the courts would consider vested rights in a town like ours, where we're starting from scratch and there's never been any regulations before. So, to Tara's point. So,
But I'm not sure if that litigation deals with this, or they have another clause in there that says there are certain districts that they have removed the right for short-term rentals. Oh, yes, and if you grandfathered, you can stay there. So I don't know if the fight is over that.
yeah, I
All
don't,
right, so.
I don't know either.
Well, there's many fights, I mean, Virginia Beach is.
So in your particular case, are you saying then if you go back to Article 3, where we have included these under accessory uses, we would move it to conditional uses with the language that you just talked about?
Yes, so going back to Article 3, in each of those, so in 3.2, 3.3, 3.4, et cetera, all the way down the list here where it says accessory use.
The accessory use.
It would go to conditional use. Yeah, for all of them. So you would have to, I imagine you could make one motion that would do all of them. That you would just move them all from accessory use under permitted to conditional use. And then, what I'm not 100% sure on is where to put this language I just read, probably in the very beginning of Article 3. Didn't bring these.
But why wouldn't you just include it under Section E on each of these sections?
That would just, you could, it
Right?
would be redundant, but you,
Yeah,
I would think you
just
put
put it
it
under
at
each one,
the
so
top
that-
of,
It's clear.
that's fine.
Make it clear.
You could do that too.
So I'll make a motion, or amended motion, that we add to Article 3, these particular individual sections or districts, that we move language to conditional use and use the language John just read out to us. And if you can just repeat that, please.
So the language that would be included would be any short-term rental that possessed a valid town business license, a town rental certificate, and remitted transient occupancy taxes to the town during the 12 months immediately preceding the effective date of this ordinance is considered grandfathered, but must meet the conditions of Article 4, Section 4.12 of the Town of Cape Charles zoning ordinance.
Second.
Is there any other discussion on the amended motion? All right, all in favor of amending the motion, say
I
aye.
have discussion.
Oh, I'm sorry, go
We
ahead.
don't have a full town council. You have another member who's going to be joining this town council in a month and a half, and this issue has been a hot button issue for this town. I'm not sure that it would be wise for us to move forward on something as overreaching as this without a full town council.
We have a
Well,
full
we have a
council
council.
right
We
now.
have
We have a
And with all due respect to Clayton, he starts in January.
Sorry, Steve, I
Yeah.
didn't mean to undermine you, I really
Right.
didn't. I meant based on sort of the election outcome.
It doesn't matter. We have a full
Fair.
council here. We've been working on it for 2-3 years. We, certainly Clayton has the ability to comment. You know, you're at the table tonight because you filled that spot, but we certainly, in the past, what we've done is the council-elect, we give them the opportunity if they'd like to be a part of making a comment or discussion, but not a vote. But I think that all of us have done a lot of due diligence to get to this point this evening, and putting that off yet again and starting down that path is just unnecessary. I don't think that's a good idea.
Understood.
All right, do we have any other discussion on the amended motion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Nay.
2-4, motion carries. Back to anything else? Oh, John, we need to go to,
Yeah, we,
Why did you disagree?
Yeah, I hope you got that.
I think it should be a cup. This is all turned into a cup now, the whole thing. So there's not by right whatsoever.
correct.
Going forward.
all right, so.
Going forward.
Yeah, moving forward.
So going forward, I just wanted to let you know what this is going to cost before you actually vote to do it. So we have one-time startup costs, and then we have recurring costs. These are obviously estimates at this point. You know, it could vary once we get into it. The biggest thing that we need is a very robust software package. Katie's been doing a lot of research on this, and there's some really robust packages out there that would help us track and organize and report and even monitor the call-in line, all that good stuff. So we're going to need that kind of software support. There's an initial setup fee on that, and then there's a recurring subscription fee on that. The one-time startup fee on that is about $12,000. Now, because of the cost of this, we're going to have to go out to bid. So these are estimates of what it would cost, but this is a reasonable universe of cost here. Miscellaneous equipment, you know, for computers, phones, other equipment, furniture, if you're trying to give them a desk or whatever, phones, all that good stuff. And then a golf cart to go around and be able to do their job. So I see an initial upfront cost of approximately $26,000.
Before we move off the startup, I know we've got a current golf cart, may not be the greatest in the world, but do we need an additional one?
Yes. I mean, the one we use now is used for other purposes as well as this. I envision this person needing more dedicated transportation. So
I think we can get a used one, we just bought one, for $7,000 or $6,000, just.
we could,
Yeah.
it just won't last as long.
Right.
But yeah, I mean,
But for what they're doing,
yes.
yeah.
So I mean, yes, we can look at all those things, but we use the golf cart for a lot of different things for the planning department, and if we're going to have a whole new enforcement officer whose job is going to be out there doing this sort of thing, I think we probably need additional transportation. Recurring costs, as I mentioned, the ongoing subscription for the software package we're looking at is going to run something close to $50,000, probably between $40,000 and $50,000. I put $45,000.
So they initially give you 12,000?
Yeah, that seems so weird.
No. The first cost will be the $45,000 plus the $12,000.
Oh, okay.
That first
I
year.
was like, this is very
That
odd.
first year is gonna be both. Then the recurring after that would just be the subscription.
I understand.
It's 125 the first year.
Mm-hmm.
So then, of course, hiring another enforcement officer, salary and benefits, and miscellaneous costs, you're pushing $100,000 for recurring costs, depending on how things come in. So, my recommendation would be that we eat the first year cost. I can come up with that within the budget. But for the ongoing recurring costs, if you had desire to execute some sort of cost recovery on that, right now we currently charge $150 for inspection fees. But then you add these new costs. These new annual costs divided by the number of STRs. Now, the number of STRs listed here do not include Bay Creek because they wouldn't be included yet. And if you wanted to take all of that cost and put it all on the burden of the STRs, that's going to be a $420 per STR annual permit fee, in addition to the $150 inspection fee, for a total combined fee of $570 per STR. If you wanted to push this all on one. And we're not making this decision tonight. This is a budget decision. We will talk about this at budget time. I'm just telling you what it's cost. Okay?
Thank you for pulling that together.
Now note that permit fee is in addition to your business license and top. Okay. Now, if we get the PUD updated and we bring Bay Creek into the fold, and we can divide this cost by that number, this fee drops to $300. So I just wanted to give you kind of a rough idea of what the resource requirement will be if you approve this ordinance. Now the one thing what this did not consider was the conditional use process,
Right.
which is going to increase the workload in Katie's department. I talked to her about that. We've been trying to track STRs over the past year or two. We don't have a lot of history on that, but we're trying to track the growth, because that's what we were talking about, right? It's just the number of new ones. And there does not seem to be a huge growth over what we currently have right now. So, and to remain I don't know. Going through the cut process is not, as easy as just coming in and getting a business license. It's like before, everyone was just coming in and grabbing a business license. So you're going to have to really want to open an STR to want to put yourself through that process. There's really no rush to do it, right? Because this is not going away. If you want to open an STR this year, do it. If you want to wait a year, do it next year. I mean, so there's not like, I don't see there would be a run on town hall. There's no benefit to doing that. It's just an additional cost. Why not wait until you're ready and then come in and apply for your cup? So I'm not seeing a crushing a number of new cups coming in, and with the addition of this additional person, Katie and I feel that we can probably handle it within the additional person that we're putting in here. So I think we're okay. Any questions?
Well, that's what we wanted to know. What's the impact?
I have a staff question, because you still have another cup built into this process. I don't want to lose sight of that under C5, the occupancy piece. So now you're gonna have the cup for any new ones. How am I calling this second cup? Well, I just need to understand how this meshes.
It can go away.
No,
My
because
impression
we
would
need it
be
for existing.
What's
Yeah.
already
Need to
written
change to
down
existing.
is on the existing ones.
Yeah.
If you were a new one and you're applying for your
This is
cup,
only for the new, so I think.
no, only for the old.
Sorry, no, the new cup, this.
That's only for the new,
Greater than 10
correct.
lodgers, new cup. That would be for any new STRs proposing to come online.
If they wanted to do more than 14, so you can kill two birds with one.
New ones are conditional use no matter what.
Right, Yes. and so you would build over the 10 into that other cup. You wouldn't have to
So
do
the
two of them.
grandfathered ones do not have to apply for a cup, for greater than 10 lodges?
Yes, they
Yes,
still
they do.
They still
If they do not,
They're the ones who
they
do
still have
that.
to comply with all the new,
Yes.
But the new ones only do one cup, which
Because-
would include
Which
potentially
would
both.
include everything they want.
Everything they
Right.
want, yeah.
So it must meet all of the conditions, all of the other conditions.
Yes, so I think the language works the way it is, Katie, because to exceed that language, you have to get a conditional use permit. So any existing one that's grandfathered in wouldn't have a conditional use permit, they would have to go through it.
Yeah.
A new person would then have a conditional use permit as part of the original application.
All right, I think we're ready for it. Katie was going to say something else on that.
I think they're trying to fix
Right.
it.
Is there anything else you'd like to add, Katie?
I'm sorry. I missed that. I apologize.
No, I'm just asking, do you have anything else to add?
No, Jeff and I just trying to figure this out from an internal procedure, so he has, just so everybody's clear, because when we included the section relative to the approved annual rental certificate of occupancy, there are those that have been issued this past year that are greater than your occupancy limit of 10.
Yeah, and that's fine.
And that
that's
doesn't
fine.
mean that number actually is grandfathered in.
No, that number's not grandfathered.
No.
No, just that there is a certificate,
Okay, thank you.
meaning that they
But
operate.
then, so then that only grants them the right to up to 10.
Right.
Then if they want the 14 or 16 that I gave this year.
Whatever you've issued then to date is good until next year. When you issue the one next year, you will follow this new ordinance.
Okay, I got it now. Thank you.
And then the only other thing that I was going to say, are we putting a date on it, or is it when this is signed?
This is effective immediately, but there's a grace period of a year for everything in 4.12.
It's already set up.
That's already in.
Yeah, so it becomes effective immediately, meaning the uses are now authorized immediately, so we don't have to wait for that. So, but the new regulations, everyone has a year to comply, we have a year to get ready for it.
All right, so back to the original motion that has been seconded. Any other discussion on that, on this whole ordinance? And now I need to, all right. All right, after getting a motion and a second from the council, I move for the adoption of ordinance 20241121, amending Cape Charles zoning ordinance to add in a new section in Article 4, creating short-term rental zoning ordinance, and amend certain sections of the zoning ordinance to address short-term rentals as noted, and forego the reading of the ordinance. It's a roll call vote. Ashworth? Yes or no?
No.
Bennett?
yes.
Buckholz?
For the rules, yes.
Luna?
Yes.
Grossman?
Yes.
Holloway?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-1. Moving on. Waste collection and disposal services contract award.
Just a second, Mr. Mayor.
You got it?
Okay, this is a routine matter. We have very limited contractors for this service. We put it out to bid to Davis, and we've got the bid in at the price that we have been planning for. So it's just a normal procedural contract, and recommend approval.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion, we authorize the town manager to execute the contract with Davis Disposal Incorporated for waste collection and disposal services as
Second.
outlined.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? B carries. We are looking to change the time for the next town council meeting so that we can do the swear-ins at the meeting and move it to 5 PM, correct?
Correct, Mr. Mayor. So we talked about this last time, but to change the date or time of a regular meeting requires a resolution. So even though we talked about this, this just makes it formal and legal that we're going to change the meeting time start date for one meeting only, the next meeting in December, the regular meeting in December from 6 to 5. Recommend approval.
Make a motion, we adopt resolution 2024-1121 to change the start time of the December 19th, 2024 Town Council regular meeting to 5 PM.
Second.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any discussion on moving the time? All right, so I move for adoption of resolution 2024-1121, changing the time of December 19th, 2024 Cape Charles Town Council regular meeting as noted, and forego the reading of the resolution. Holloway.
Yes.
Grossman.
Yes.
Hood.
Yes.
Buckholz.
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
Ashworth.
Yes.
Motion carries. 7D, appointment of town council representative to the library board.
So as you may recall that Andrew Fulmer was our council's representative to the library board. And now that Tara's filled his spot, she's also on the library board and would like to remain. So our suggestion is that you appoint her as the council's representative. That will then open up her original seat to be filled by an additional person, which we're trying to organize interviews for December 11th. So I would recommend.
12th.
12, sorry.
Thursday, 12.
Make a motion, we
Thank you for-
appoint Tara Ashworth as the council representative to the library board.
Second.
Property motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Hosey, any comments this evening?
A couple of quick ones. So I briefed you before that we had some difficulty with the county conversion data for personal property tax. I'd like to commend my finance staff for trying to work their way through that. It was a challenging thing to tackle, but we did get the bills out late as a result, and therefore we have postponed the due date for personal property tax only to December 30th. So remember, real property tax still is due on December 5th, but personal property tax is due on the 30th, December 30th. Would like to report our new hires. So we've had Jeremiah Camp from Public Works hired as our new maintenance specialist. He was hired on 15th of October. He was seasonal and has gone full time. So he proved himself really well over the summer.
He did.
And then Courtney Neal, my new assistant, has started on the 17th of October. Raymond Ivy is our new police officer. He started on November 4th. And also very excited about having Paula Davis, our harbor master, start on the 11th of November. And Tyler.
December.
No.
Oh, she started already.
Part-time.
Okay.
Part-time. And she will go full-time in December.
Great.
And then Michael Tyler Brown is our assistant harbor master, who also started on the 11th. So those are our new hires. And talked about the executive session on the 12th. Oh, and this weekend, be expecting the report from Baker Tilly on finance. So I will be looking for your emails over the weekend, and you should be getting it then.
When do we meet again for that?
So you'll get it this weekend, and then we meet on December
5th?
5th.
5th, right, yeah. I had it in my phone, but I didn't write what it was for. Yeah.
So I have it.
All right. Any comments from council?
Yeah, I want to give a big old shout out to Jeb and Katie for what they did with this 411 for the builders. It was, if you haven't seen it, watch it. It's good.
Really good.
It's really good, and I think we may need to try to figure out how to do something like that with some, not only that, some other processes, maybe the short-term rental thing or the something, annual, not like it's do it every month. I know it's a lot of work, but I mean, it was well done, and I think it was well received from what I could tell from the audience.
Here.
Anybody else?
I concur. I was fascinated, and I learned a lot of things, which is just great, especially, Katie, the history of zoning and how we choose to do that, and the whole piece of it. I think it was very, very beneficial. Thanks again. I don't have anything else.
Yeah, I've got something that I know I need some help with, and that's with Virginia American Walk. 2 weeks ago, I called in an issue with a water meter water is pouring out. A little less is coming out now. So it went in as a first complaint. Wednesday, someone would be there. No one showed up Wednesday. Thursday, I called. Friday, I called. No one still showed. Called again on the following Monday and they said, well, I don't know, let's call it an emergency. Well, someone right there today. So as of today, water is still coming out of the water meter. So after multiple calls to Virginia American Water, I've gotten no result with having the problem fixed. And so I don't know, Bob, or if you can.
Let me know. Give me the details. Yeah.
Well,
generally speaking, they have been very responsive. I have gotten 3 or 4 incidents of someone not being satisfied since they've taken over. Let me know. I will get it taken care of.
Thank you.
What is the work that they're doing? This week I've seen them doing a lot of work on the road.
Electric meters on.
They're doing a big meter replacement. Is that what you're talking about?
Not at individual homes, but in like right out here in the road. Okay, camera in the mains, yeah, because there's like 3 different areas on Tuesday night.
Water infiltration,
Yeah,
For
I was
us,
curious.
This was after they replaced the meters with their digital meter, so probably just wasn't put in properly.
Oh, it was after they replaced them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Good. All right, couple announcements. November 27th, town office is closed for Thanksgiving, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone. November 28th, 29th, town office is closed also for Thanksgiving. December 5th, town council executive session. December 12th, town council another executive session, tentative. And then on the 19th is our regular town council meeting, which I hope you all will attend to.
And note, the December 12th one was tentative before I got a quorum. I have a quorum on now.
So it's definite.
Now a set meeting for the interviews for the boards.
Okay, I am corrected. That is no longer tentative. And if I could get a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.